All right, so let's demo TCN's compliance tool. All right, so TCN's compliance tool is built in our new operator app. We have several different nodes here as well. So to get there, I log into operator.tcn.com and I go to natural language compliance. Now, one single account can have multiple rule sets that you can have applied to different accounts underneath one parent account. So if you're collecting on behalf of ABC company and XYZ company, and those two companies have different rule sets that you want to apply, you can have two different rule sets created, and you can assign those rule sets to each individual business. Now, as far as creating a rule set, it's very simple. So I hit this create button up top here. I give it a name. Or we can call it, ABC company. TCN is really nice in that we have this tutor hat up here where you can click here and we give you all sorts of sample rules and instructions you can read. And if you ever get stuck, you can look at these or call an account manager. You can put virtually anything in here. So for example, we talked about the 7 and 7 rule. You can only contact somebody or try to contact somebody 7 times in a 7-day window. So to make a rule like that, I could just type in here, and 7 times in 7 days. Every rule starts with a hash and ends with the period, or a dash and ends with the period. To make a new rule, I can just hit the enter button here. So that's how I could combat the 7 and 7. So TCN will look at, over the last 7 days, have we attempted to contact somebody more than 7 times? If we have, we're gonna cancel that call. It's not gonna go through. And you can do that at the phone number level, or you can get more specific, and we can go at the account level as well. All I have to do here is just determine the natural language what my account field represents. So in this case, it's going to be account number. So that's how we can help with the 7 and 7. Now, if you wanted to only contact somebody 1 time in 7 days, we can make a rule like this. You can see here as I'm typing all this stuff out, TCN is very intuitive in that it's going to give me lots of different options as far as how I want this to work. So now we're going to go based off of agent disposition. So we're going to say disposition equals right party contact. So what this means here is if I get a connected call and an agent dispositions a call as a right party contact, we're only going to allow one of those calls to go through every 7 days. Any more than that, we're going to scrub the call and it's not going to go through. We can do a lot of state specific stuff too if you wanted to get very more granular, because each state, different states have different rules, for example. So for example, certain states like Wisconsin, for example, if we needed to say deny outbound calls more than 3 times in 7 days, we can use the account number again, just so we're going to scrub not just the phone number, but the entire account if there's multiple phone numbers on there. And I'll just say in, oops. Oops, I can't spell. United States. You can see there's compliance rules for any state or country you live in or want to call to. And then we're going to say state equals WI, or you can type out Wisconsin. There you have it. So this rule is going to look specifically at the phone number and the zip code of the customer and ensure if there's a customer that lives or resides in Wisconsin, or their phone number has an area code that resides in Wisconsin, we're not going to call that person more than 3 times in a 7-day window. So you can see how very granular you can get as far as call attempts go to just make sure you're compliant. Some other stuff we can do is deny calls on certain days. So for example, we want to deny outbound calls on, we can say a country once again, United States. And then we could give it a name, which would be, for example, Christmas Day. So every Christmas, TCN is going to look at our compliance rules. And if it's Christmas, it's not going to let that call go through. States have specific rules as well. So for example, in the state of Utah, they have a holiday called Pioneer Day. So if we wanted to deny calls just for Utah on Pioneer Day, we could do that here. Pioneer Day. Just close with a bracket and a period. So you can see you can get very granular as far as state-specific holidays, nationwide holidays, etc. on who you can call and how often you can call them. You can also do certain states, maybe depending on what kind of dialing you're doing, have certain time zone restrictions where you can only call them at certain times. TCN by default doesn't allow calls to go before 8 o'clock or after 9, but you can make that state specific as well. For example, in Oklahoma, for example. So once I have all these rules created, I could just save them here. And the list goes on and on. You can create as many rule sets as you'd like. If I do anything wrong, it's going to give me an error. It'll tell me exactly what was incorrect. So 8 p.m., it didn't like the time format. So instead, because I have to do 8:00 p.m. and then I save. And it'll go through. So you can have as many rule sets as you'd like. And another thing you can do with these rule sets is you can have what's called a scrub list. What a scrub list does is I can take a list of any metadata I'd like to take, and I can scrub that against TCN. So for example, there's a natural disaster in Houston. Houston had a hurricane that damaged a lot of Houston. You want to quickly be able to not call anybody located in the Houston area. So we can add what's called a scrub list. So I can create that, and that can be based off anything I'd like. I can say postal code, choose the data we want to add. For this, it's going to be other because it's not an account number, phone number, or email. And then you can just start putting content in here. Click save. That's been added. Now there's ways you can add this in bulk. You can do an upload, or you can just type in and then you can include an expiration if you want to include an expiration as well.